There's a guy, Ali Abdaal, he's a big YouTuber. He made, in his first year on Kajabi, $5 million.
My next guest runs one of the biggest platforms that helps digital creators sell their content. And those creators have already earned over $8 billion. His name is Ahad Khan, and his company is Kajabi. Goldman Sachs projects that by 2027, the global creator economy will generate around $500 billion.
There's a massive market out there.
Big money, actually.
It's big money.
Join me to hear Ahad's journey and learn why he defines the creator economy as a world of ownership, independence, and love. Ahad, you help tens of thousands of creators to create digital content and educational content online, the back end of that. What's the craziest content that you've seen that just worked surprisingly?
There's this really cool story about this, essentially an entrepreneur. She's a ex-convict, I believe, single mom, lives in like rural America, and she teaches people how to pass the trucking exam, how to become a trucker. And it's actually a massive industry in the US.
It's big money, actually.
It's big money. I mean, it's one of the biggest employers of the US. I think it's one of the, for men in the US, it's actually one of the places where you can get a six-figure income pretty straightforwardly. And when I learned about her business, you go to her website, you see how she markets. It's not like this sophisticated marketing. She has a seven-figure business annually, just teaching people how to pass a trucking exam.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's an incredible business. What we do as a platform is we power a lot of those types of businesses, but that's a really good example of somebody who knows their niche better than anybody does, knows how to talk to them, and has a product that works. So that's kind of what we do as a business.
So Goldman Sachs recently released a report saying that the creator economy is growing from $250 billion to almost $500 billion, like $480 million by 2027. Tell us a bit about what is that creator economy and what role is Kajabi playing in it?
Creator economy is the traditional, I'm on TikTok, I'm on LinkedIn, I put content out there. I'm a fashion person, I talk about the things I wear, I do brand deals, I do all these things. That's an element of what the creator economy is, which is creators, people who are content creators, monetizing either their followership via these like brand deals, right? There's an element of it. There's also the element of it of what we do at Kajabi, which is digital first monetization, right? And what we do is we give creators the opportunity to build audiences off the back of these social media platforms that they own and provide digital products to them. And when we say digital products, we say courses, communities, newsletters, digital downloads, coaching, ways for creators to sell their knowledge, experience, and expertise synchronously or asynchronously. Synchronously is like, hey, we hop on a call and I coach you on how to do the best podcast ever, and that's a version of it. Or asynchronously, here's an on-demand course you can take whenever you want, and I make money while I sleep, right? So there's this really cool element of it, which is selling physical goods and services and brand deals that creators are able to make money off of the size of their followership. And then what Kajabi does is that kind of direct monetization of your audience in a way that creator controls much more explicitly. What we do as a platform, and what I think is most exciting, is actually creators, and particularly the ones we go after, are actually turning into entrepreneurs, right? And when they become entrepreneurs, you can see their mindset start shifting in terms of they're not as interested in being at the whim of a marketing budget. When interest rates are low, marketing budgets are high. But when interest rates go up, marketing budgets get pulled. And so a lot of creators saw their businesses go away overnight. And so what we're in the business of, and what we really believe is a trend that's happening, is like first-party monetization. Like, I control my brand, I control my audience, and I can provide content to them that they see value in, and then we transact because that value is exchanged, right? But I'm not reliant on any third-party intermediary or social media platform to do it. What I'm actually able to do is provide like real values to the people who like what I do, and create a livelihood around what I love. So that's what Kajabi in its essence is all about. But what the creator economy, I think the more sophistication happens, is that people are going to go down that avenue a lot more than they have historically.
On average, how much do creators actually make on Kajabi?
On Kajabi, it's about $50,000 a year.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, it's a lot of money. So when you think about, I think particularly in the US, income in the US on average is about $55,000, $60,000 a year. If you use that versus a TikTok or a YouTube, I think the average creator at best makes $1,500 a year, right? So it tells you the difference in terms of we're a commerce platform. So people come to us to make money. So there's an element of segmentation that the people who use Kajabi are really interested in building a business.
But I mean, I would imagine that there's a threshold that a creator would need to cross? Otherwise, they're just going to churn and leave you, right?
Yeah.
So how much money do people need to make in order for them to stick with you as customers?
It's a great question. Like, it actually depends on where they are on their journey. So when you're first starting, you can see the first 5-6 months on the platform, people aren't making money. They're kind of building their audience or building their product, right? Essentially, once you're profitable on the platform, so our average revenue per month is called $100 or whatever, right? If they're making $100 a month, they're going to stick around because that's like they're profitable on the business, right? And you can see that in our retention rate. So when people actually even make $1 and the ones who don't, there's like a massive gap in terms of retention, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months later, that when we build a product, we organize the entire experience around making sure they make their first dollar as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and you actually play a role in some of that in terms
for sure.
of. And so why has nobody heard of Kajabi?
It's structurally because of the way we've built the business, right? So when you have probably interacted with a Kajabi creator, but because it's their brand, their pricing and packaging, their user experience, you don't know it's powered by Kajabi. So if you're building on YouTube, for example, it'll be youtube.com/Muhammed Mekki, right? And YouTube is actually the brand there. It's all the YouTube user experience, but it's your page, right? But if you're building on Kajabi, it'd be muhammedmekki.com. And it's powered by Kajabi. All the stuff that's happening is in Kajabi, but we're the platform behind you. So we're the most creator-centric company that exists because to our detriment, we don't put ourselves in front of the creator. When we think about commerce, we believe that's happened as well, right? So think about what Shopify has done for e-commerce. It used to be go to Amazon, go to eBay, for wherever you want to buy. Shopify, you go to skims.com, you go to Figs, which are like the scrubs, all their brand, but it's powered by Shopify. In the creator world, we believe that's going to happen as well, which is the creator is the brand, the creator is an entrepreneur. We want to be a platform that puts them first before anything. And so structuring our business model where you can pay us, you can make $1 on Kajabi, you can make $1 million on Kajabi. All that revenue is yours as long as you pay us a subscription fee to do that, right? That kind of honest conversation and honest handshake in terms of the creators helps them know that we're never going to put ourselves in front of them and lets them know that they can build a brand here safely over time, and brand value compounds as you build a business.
And you guys released actually a state of the creator economy a couple years ago. Took a look at that.
Annually,
It's like really interesting to see some of the trends of like what it takes actually to be a successful creator versus somebody who maybe. What are some of the surprising findings that you've had from being able to actually look at the data of who's successful versus who isn't?
I think what you find the most successful ones are ones who are multifaceted, right? So they're not just, I build YouTube and that's it. They have a YouTube, then they have other social media platforms. Some of them have physical goods, some of them have digital goods. And when you look at the pie chart of their income, part of it is revenue share or ad share or profit share from YouTube. Part of it is direct monetization. Part of it is like brand deals. So they become almost like a portfolio. And what the cool thing about that happens is as different parts of their business oscillate up and down, other parts can make up for it, right? So like we talked about earlier, brand deals can be awesome when marketing budgets are high, but when they go away, you have to be able to still build an income that you can sustain yourself on. And that's where we saw a lot of people start communities, start newsletters, start building first-party monetization capabilities. And so the best ones are just, they have a portfolio of revenue that they like to build, and depending on what's happening in the market and what they're learning, they lean in, lean out on what's making sense.
Tell me about the revenue streams that you've seen successful creators leverage.
Yeah, there's a great example of a woman named Cassie Ho. It's called Blogilates. And so she's essentially a fitness instructor, but she's taking a passion of hers and created a physical brand around it. So she sells actually like workout equipment in Target now. Last year, Taylor Swift wore one of her skirts, like tennis skirts, in a video, and her sales just went through the roof. And I think she used Shopify for the physical goods part of her business. But the cool thing about it wasn't just, everybody's gonna buy her skirt. It was her brand got elevated. So then all of a sudden her Kajabi business, which is more courses or ways to learn how to work out or whatever it is, that part of her business accelerated as well. So it's a good example of, look, she had all these logs in the fire or whatever, and one of them started burning and then it all went up really well. I think that entrepreneur, there's again, I don't like to be there's one way to do entrepreneurship, but that's an example of somebody who's multifaceted, and that because one thing took off, the entire thing took off. Those stories are really cool to see happen in real life.
What are some of the aha moments that creators have had in terms of the learning of, actually being successful as an entrepreneur creator?
Yeah, I think most importantly, a lot of creators come to any platform and they want things to be perfect. So they're like, I'm going to take a lot of time to build this community or build this course and make sure
Exactly
picture
how,
perfect.
yes.
Yeah.
The design, the colors, everything.
And
yeah.
what ends up happening is that you spend a lot of time, energy, calories trying to perfect your online image, and it does matter. So I'm not trying to minimize that matters, but it's at the opportunity cost of that is like putting something out there, learning, iterating your product, and like you have day 2, day 3, day 4 to take that feedback and build something that you know will sell.
Which is Startup 101.
Which is Startup 101.
Lean approach,
yes, totally.
etc.
And I think a lot of the times that gets in the way of creators as they start. They're like, it's my website, it's my app, I want it to look awesome.
And it's their personal brand, right? It's like I'm putting my name out there, so they want it to be just right.
I think that's right. But what you have to think about is the journey. And the journey starts with validate that there's a demand for what you want to do in the world. Make sure that you can build a business around it. And then you can you can improve your brand over time. But I think the first part is to make sure that this is a sustainable way for you to make a living.
So let's go to that first part, right? Because the first part obviously is like, that's the hardest thing. You're going out there, you're putting yourself out there. Let's say you do launch it. And inevitably, it's going to, unless you get crazy lucky, it's going to start slow, right? How do you make that decision from what you've seen in terms of the data across tens of thousands of your customers? When should you stick at it and just keep hammering forward versus realizing, you know what, I should pivot and change this thing because it's not clicking?
Honestly, it's going to be very, the best way to be it is like, am I generating GMV? Is this creating value for people? Are people transacting on my platform, right? So the first version of it is earliest in your journey is you have an idea, you create like a landing page around it and you drive traffic towards to some way. If people give you their name, phone number, email address, that's an early indicator that like what you're putting out in the world, it matters to somebody. So they want to sign up for it. That's the first precursor. That's when you onboard into our product, we spend a lot of time telling people, just make sure that there's something here that you want to build. And then as soon as you get like essentially product market fit, keep going down and down. Eventually you have to make money. But I don't think the first 6-9 months of the journey should be just I got to make $1. It should be, am I building an audience that eventually I can monetize in a way that makes sense? And is the product I'm building, am I getting high engagement? Are the retention rates good on the products I'm building? Am I enjoying it? There's a part of that as well. And do I see growth in either audience size or revenue that keeps me on this path? Or should I pivot to something else that makes more sense because it's just not, people aren't into what I'm putting out there?
And do I need to be like a social media influencer in order? No. Like, how much does the audience that you're bringing in influence actually how much you can make as a creator on a platform?
You know, it's funny. People obsess about follower count a lot, right? And we talk a lot about not all follower count is created equal, right? So you can be a follower. I was with a customer of ours. He has, I think 5 million followers across social media platforms, right?
Not bad.
And he teaches me, it's fantastic. And he teaches people like math tricks. And it's like this cool like mental math tricks, essentially like a walking, talking calculator. But then he's like, I can't get anybody to convert into like the things I'm selling on to them. And when you look at his content, it's because it's like fun, educational, entertainment content, but it's not like, oh, I'm interested in this guy, I'm gonna go take a course on him. It's like, oh, this is cool how he calculated this times this and the square root of that all in his head. It's almost like entertainment. I don't think that followership always is a good indicator that that audience is gonna convert into paying customers. The flip of it is we have examples of people who have, I think, 100 or 200 customers or like followers across social media platforms, but they're highly monetizable. They teach people how to build a real estate portfolio. And their community and their course and their newsletter, the combination is like a $2,000 ticket, but they're selling it to 1,000 people.
Done.
That's magic.
It's great.
Right? So it doesn't take millions of people to do it. It's like the power of 100, there's like these articles about 100 real fans or 1,000 real fans. It's that dynamic that plays out a lot on the internet. And I just think people underestimate how big niches can be. You just got to spend time kind of going after that over time. So I'll give you an example. There's a guy, Ali Abdaal. He's a big YouTuber. I think he has like 5 million YouTube followers. His story is like he's in the UK. He was a doctor, so Cambridge educated doctor, was working in an NHS and started building videos online, teaching kids like, oh, I want to get into medical school in the UK. He'd like walk you through how to do it. And what ended up happening was people were less interested in his like how to get into Oxbridge and more, how are you so productive? Like, what are you doing that you're able to create all this content so quickly? Your channel's growing, all these things. And he kind of pivoted his entire business into like a productivity guru now, right? So he built this fantastic YouTube presence. And then he built a product on Kajabi called Part-Time YouTuber Academy. And he's public about all this stuff. So I'm sharing this stuff because I think he loves sharing his journey. He's kind of building in public. I think he made, in his first year on Kajabi, $5 million, right? That was about 70% of his income that year, maybe 60% of his income that year. And that was like, just like obviously took the teamwork, but the launch itself was like a 2-week event, right? And it just tells you the power of people who are doing I'm getting a rev share from YouTube, I'm doing these things. That's great, it's part of your portfolio. But you should also add these different elements and these different ways to monetize your portfolio that are, to your point, a lot of dollars, but more importantly, a lot of profit. Because they're digital goods, they don't have the same P&L, OpEx, like inventory, supply chain, all that kind of stuff with it. It's instant fulfillment, and it provides a lot of value to a lot of people.
So I'd like to flip it to the other side. Imagine you're not the person with millions of followers, and you just want to get started with putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
What tips do you have for that person?
Yeah, I think it's, is there an area where people come to you naturally asking for questions or your knowledge, experience, or expertise? I think that's a great place to start, right? Because that means that you as a person or what you do for a living resonates with some kind of audience. I use myself as an example a lot of the time. People used to come up to me and ask me, I want to get into tech, what should I do? And I'd give them advice, but it felt like I was saying the same thing again and again and again.
Record that and sell it.
Honestly, and that's a lot of it. It's like realizing that is actually what product market fit is. It's that when people come to you again and again, they're getting value there. So the entrepreneurial switch is now, how do I make this into a business, right?
Sure, so step one is that there's some signal from people around you.
Yes.
That you have something of value.
Yes, that's right. And then the step 2 or step 1B of that is, do you have a love or do you have a call, not a calling, but like a willingness to do this over time?
Because it's gonna be hard.
It's gonna be hard. Like I talk about this a lot, which is the concept of like 0 to hero or like 0 followers to 5 million followers. That just does not exist. And I think a lot of people come to the creator economy and they think, oh, this is gonna be a really easy way for me to build a living. It's just not true. It's entrepreneurship. Any entrepreneurial journey has hardships, has ups and downs. And we talk about this a lot at our business, is like, as a platform, we want to be there every step of the way for our creators to make sure that we can increase the likelihood of success. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And you just have to have a crazy passion about it.
Crazy passion about it, you gotta love it.
To push you through it.
Yeah, and what ends up happening is that when you actually start building and you start impacting people's lives, and in my example, you get a couple of kids jobs at technology companies that want to work at, there's something fulfilling about that, right? So that part is actually the thing we celebrate a lot. It's not just about the money, but it's about you're changing somebody's life. Like literally, that person was doing X before, they're doing Y now, and that's what they wanted to do. And if you can play a role in that, there's fulfillment. There's also the opportunity to make a business around that, right? And we encourage people, once they have established that people care about what they say.
Yeah, so the expertise plus passion. That's kind of stage 1.
Stage 1. And then stage 2 for us is start building, right? Start putting the ideas out there in a systematic way to see if you're able to build like a followership or an audience around that exists online.
Okay, so where and how?
Yeah, so at this part, it really depends on who the creator is, right? So our platform, we have 67% of our customers use YouTube, 20 to 30% use LinkedIn. A lot of them have a combination of that plus TikTok. It really depends on where you as the creator know your audience exists, right? We have the top LinkedIn influencer, a guy named Justin Welsh. His content is actually all written content, right? So where he finds his audience is on Twitter and on LinkedIn, right? And that makes a lot of sense because that's how he built, it's a lot of like, it's a business called Creator OS, and he teaches people how to build a creator business. It's really, really cool. But he's not in front of a camera that often. He just likes writing. He talks about how he's been able to build a $5 million business with 96% operating profit and go for walks with his wife in the woods whenever he wants. It's like this really cool.
He's living the dream.
He's living a dream.
So you gotta it's a combination between knowing yourself and knowing your audience.
Yes, exactly. And putting content out there that resonates and being iterative, right? So just because you think the world should exist in a certain way, I think that's a really cool passion. But what you gotta be able to do is have a vision for what you wanna do, but make sure that it resonates with the market.
So imagine now we've established all these fundamental prerequisites, right? So you have the area that you're testing in, and you've started consistently posting, and you are starting to get the positive signals, right?
Yeah.
Now you want to take it to the next level and actually start making money off of this. What have you seen really good creators do early on in that journey that really separates them from the pack?
One thing we see a lot with the smartest ones that they don't try to bring everybody into the monetization mode. Like part of it is like, again, it's a business. And so when you think about a certain segment of your audience wants to take that next step with you, it's being able to identify who those people are and convert them into the next stage of the journey, right? So a typical journey for us is start on social media, send people to a landing page, get their phone number, their email address, their name, sell them into a free community, which is they're interacting with you on a daily basis or a weekly basis, but they're also interacting with other people who love the content you're putting out there. So it creates this really cool like community element to it that is profound in terms of its retention and its ability to like drive your business. Because people just don't want to know who you are. They want to be able to interact with, I'm a big fan of Muhammad, like what is that?
Yep, and other people who are interested in the same thing.
Totally.
And you would give that away for free?
Yeah, a lot of them give it away for free because they think of it as a opportunity to cultivate audience and provide value to that audience, right? So again, it's not always about monetization, but it is the first part of like the journey of these people are fans of fans. Like they've gone through 2 hurdles to join your community. You have now done a good job of like being deliberate about who you're going to interact with. And then it's like, what do they want from you next, right? If you're a coach, a lot of people want to sign up for an hour with you to talk about breaking into tech. And I'm willing to do that. And I think that's a version of it. Some people will be like, we have a great creator. They teach parents how to sleep train their kids, right? And it's this really fascinating business. It's really built on Instagram in terms of its like top of funnel. But what ends up happening is it's always replenishing because people are having kids all the time. And when people have kids and they go through the course, they're like, oh, I took this course by Big Little Feelings. You should go check them out because they are awesome. And it's this word of mouth mechanism. And it creates this opportunity for people to follow you, understand what you're about, get ready for what their life stage is going to be. Once they have the kid, three months later, they inevitably come back. They're like, I've known you for a year now because my wife got pregnant a year ago. Now I'm ready to take the 3-month, I'm going to sleep train this baby so I can sleep again at night. And that's an example of like, you got to think a little bit more long-term. It's not like click to buy.
Yeah.
But it's a cultivation of that audience over time. And when the moment is right, giving them a product that has value for them and they'll transact.
So you're here in Dubai,
Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, seeing you actually, the first time and the only time we met prior was like a decade ago back in Chicago.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were great. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. You as well.
Yeah.
No, it's great to see you out here on this side of the world.
Yeah, thanks.
What brings you out here? And what role does actually like emerging markets or the Middle East play in Kajabi's world?
Yeah, so Kajabi right now is in the midst of figuring out what our strategy is to go global, right? And when we say go global, right now, predominantly our customer base is about 60% US and 40% ex-US. And that's pretty phenomenal for a business that's priced in American dollars and only written in English.
Yeah,
right?
That's quite a bit.
It's actually pretty amazing. But what that tells us is that there's real demand outside of America to engage in this kind of commerce, right? And so one of the reasons I wanted to come to Dubai, come to the UAE, and come to the GCC in general is to learn about the market. Like, what are the best practices here? How does it work? How is it different from where we come from? And how do we, once we decide to come into this market, be very respectful of how business is done here, but use those insights to make sure our go-to-market motion makes a lot of sense, right? So for the last 2 days, we have, I think, 1,000 some customers just in the UAE in itself. And so we got together with like 100, maybe just south of 100 of them, and just kind of talking to them. Like that's the best way to learn about a market is actually talk to your customers who exist here. And what we found is that, particularly in Dubai, they're international by default, right? There are a bunch of expats who moved here, loving life here, wanted to move here because of the business-friendly environment. It's a great place to like be able to jump off from and visit the world. A lot of these people are digital-first entrepreneurs, so they can kind of work from wherever they want. But most fundamentally, they sell to the world, right? And we want to learn from these people in terms of what they're selling, how they're selling, what's working, what currencies are they selling in, what are the payment processors they're using, to inform what we hope will be a little bit of our global approach in the second half of this year, but mostly in 2026 is when we really want to go after it in a respectful way. But we think there's a massive market out there, and when you have 40% of your customer base already outside of the US, it's a good indicator that there's something there for us.
Yeah, Dubai is a microcosm in a lot of ways,
Absolutely.
having all these nationalities, so you can actually test out your hypotheses and get feedback and engage with the existing group of 1,000+ customers.
It was amazing.
Here.
We have people from Algeria, people from Spain, Colombia, Canada. We had Americans living here. We had people from India flying in. It was just I think it's very difficult to find an international global hub like that and get access to these people over 24 hours. So it's been eye-opening for us.
And now about other markets, emerging markets or global markets, let's say outside of the US, where are you seeing the most interest in terms of your customers, and what kinds of products actually are working with them?
It's a great question. Because of the, we talk about it like, what are the markets that make most sense for Kajabi? And given the English nature of the product right now, what people don't realize a lot of the times is that outside of the US, the next biggest English-speaking markets are India, Pakistan, Nigeria. Before you even go to the UK or Canada, those are big markets. And so we already have customers in those markets building on Kajabi, building tremendous business on Kajabi. What they're building depends on what their audience is, right? Sometimes you have somebody who teaches like math tricks on how to do like calculus in your head, to how to put on makeup that in 5 minutes for a big wedding on the weekend. Like, it's just the most random esoteric stuff on the internet, but it's what those markets kind of need. And it's that entrepreneurial spirit that figures that out. What we want to be thoughtful about is how do you enter those markets, right?
I was going to ask you about language in particular.
Yeah. I mean, language in particular, we want to be thoughtful about localization, but also currency localization, also support localization, right? So if you're building in Spanish or you're a Spanish-speaking person and you don't speak English very well, all of our support is in English. So if that person's not going to be successful on Kajabi until we can make sure that we are taking care of them and meeting them where they're at. So we just have a lot of work to do before we actually get there, but it's definitely on the roadmap for us in the next year and a half.
What role does AI play, both for Kajabi as Kajabi and for your creators and people using the platform?
Yeah, so from a Kajabi perspective, what's happening a lot in technology is like AI is everywhere, right? You put AI on your webpage and everybody's like, oh my God, this company's so innovative. Our approach to it is we definitely believe it's a step function change in terms of what technology is going to enable, but we want to embed it in the product where it makes sense in workflow. So, hey, you're starting on Kajabi. Not everything is AI, but it's like, do you have an idea? What's the thing that you're here for? Oh, I want to build a course on how to improve my tennis game. Great, here's an outline for it. It's embedded within Kajabi, but we expect you then to turn into an editor. So taking that content that AI has generated 80% of and making sure that you are able to put your stamp on it and then make sure that it's the kind of content that resonates with your audience. That's where the creator entrepreneur really is powerful, but it takes you away from that like blank cursor staring at you in the face and it gives you something to react to. That relationship and becoming an editor makes it a lot easier to create content. So when we think about our workflows, we think about making it appropriate and embedding AI where it makes most sense, not everywhere just because it's AI.
So as that market doubles over this next just couple years, really, what areas do you think entrepreneurs that are creatives should focus on?
I think ownership. And I mean that like in part because of what's happening on different social media platforms, how they can change algorithms, how they can change rules, they can change the way they gate or don't gate content. This is a lot of stuff that's in the news these days.
Indeed.
What social media platforms are amazing at is aggregating billions and billions of eyeballs in potential opening in markets, right? So there's, I don't know how many billion people on YouTube per month, right? There's a lot of people on there who are looking at things. So we always talk to our creators, and the smartest ones, they create free content that creates followership there, but they look at it like a marketing funnel. And they're like, look, at the top of the funnel is my YouTube content because that gets people interested in what I do. It also helps bring in people into an ecosystem that I start building a brand for myself. And then over time, I migrate those people over into an ecosystem that I control. So either I get their phone number or their email address, or I drop them into a community that I own and control. And then all of a sudden, you're not reliant on a social media platform for monetization, because monetization can happen off of a YouTube or a TikTok, and it happens in an environment where you control.
Let's talk about where this is all going.
Yeah.
How do you see, the creator economy shifting?
Yeah.
What are the plate tectonics in this next kind of couple of years? I mean, I don't know anybody can predict it in the next 10 years, but at least now, what's on the horizon?
We love it. And it comes from a place of, let me explain in terms of how we think about it. Content creation in itself, the friction there is going to go down. So essentially, content creation has become commoditized, right? You can go to any of your favorite ChatGPT versions and say, I want to build a course on how I'm a big tennis fan, right? So how to really improve my second serve. And it'll give you all the next steps and all this stuff.
It'll outline it for you, spend 10 minutes on this.
Yes, exactly. And you can say, hey, ChatGPT, make it in 300 words or make it part of an email, and you can do all that stuff. And I think that tells you that the content itself is going to become commoditized. What we believe and the way we've set ourselves up at Kajabi as a business is that the brand is going to matter a lot more. So if I'm really lucky. My sister-in-law's husband is a professional tennis player, 3-time U.S. Open men's doubles champion, right?
That's great for access.
It's great it's unbelievable. That's a just different interview that I'd love to do at some point. So when Rajiv says, hey, this is how you improve your second serve, people are like, oh my God, Rajiv said that I'm going to do that. But when Ahad says that, they're like, who is this guy? Like, barely played Division III tennis. Like, I'm not even going to like listen to him. And that tells you the power of a brand, right? That if people can be like, that person has accomplished something and they know that there's real experience, expertise coming out of that, they're willing to listen to that person a lot more than they are some Joe Schmo who played like in high school and a little bit of college, right?
Makes sense.
Makes sense. Like even, I have an example of that is like, I have a CEO coach. The guy was the CEO of Pandora. Before that was the CEO of Aquaniv, which Microsoft bought for like $8 billion, right?
Walk the walk.
Walk the walk. And a lot of the stuff he says to me, I have read on blog posts or things like that, but because Brian McAndrew says it to me, I perk up and I listen because he's done some stuff. And I think that is his brand that really matters to me and resonates with me and helps his content cut through the noise.
So Ahad, you grew up in a Pakistani family and your father, I hear, was like, any kind of engineering, as long as it's engineering is perfectly fine. Yeah. And then you go off on like the business side of things and have a career doing all sorts of stuff actually. And your previous company, a couple of startups, right?
Yeah.
Kiwi, MileIQ, acquired by Microsoft, and now you have tens of thousands of these creators on your platform in Kajabi, and I guess $8 billion of value
revenue generated
now, right?
for them.
Yes.
Yeah, so they've generated $8 billion, close to $9 billion on the platform.
So what's the chats now like at the family table?
Honestly, it's the same. Like, my dad, it's a pretty cool story, a very similar immigrant story where in Pakistan when he was growing up, his dad was like, he had 3 sons. He's like, all 3 of you are going to be doctors. All 3 of them became doctors. All 3 of them went to the U.S. and all 3 of them, landed on their feet because of education, right? So when I have an older brother and younger sister, my older brother, he kind of took the mantle and ran with it to a different. He's like a neurosurgeon, right? So
that's like next level.
Yeah, next level. So at the end of the day, he's a neurosurgeon. It's tough to compete.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing about my parents, just to give them a lot of credit, is definitely my dad. Like when I went to college, he's like, you can be any kind of engineer that you want, and he thought he was being very flexible in that. And I don't think he understands what that meant, but I'll have a conversation with him later. But once I went down this path, they were super supportive. They just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I think that's the thing,
and
right?
I think the uncertainty is the thing for them, where they're like, they know medicine, they know the career path, they know frankly, the safety of it.
You will not go hungry as a brain surgeon.
Exactly right. You will not go hungry as a brain surgeon. And I think when they saw what I was doing, which it was engineering in undergrad, then grad school, but then my first job was in finance. I lived in London for a while. I was working in the city and like as a banker, and they just didn't understand what was going on. And then when I moved to tech, they still didn't really understand what was going on. But then when I talk about the customers we have at Kajabi and what they do, they get really excited about it. Because at the end of the day, it's educational content and it's knowledge commerce. And for them, people who are very into education, very into knowledge, that piece has finally landed a little bit, right? Now, I'm not convinced it competes with a neurosurgeon yet, but it's not as bad as it was maybe a couple years ago.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were both physicians.
Yeah.
They got my sister, so she's she's the doctor, and then that's kind of like the us two, my brother and I, not so much. I'd like you to hearken back to your time as a finance guy,
Love to,
and put yourself in the shoes of somebody who's got some money, let's say $10,000, to invest, and is interested in making a choice on where to put that. Right? What advice would you give them?
Oh, I love this question. I would give them a question. I would think about it. So if I think about a finance perspective, I think about what do you do for a living and a little bit of a diversification. So if you're spending all your time, myself, for example, in tech, I don't buy a lot of tech stocks because my portfolio in life is already massively over-indexed on tech, right? So then when I think about other things I'm investing in, it's like, should it be real estate? Should it be other things that are maybe just uncorrelated.
Build a portfolio that's uncorrelated to your...
Totally right. To your existing, sort of how you make a living, right? I think that's a sound way to do it. Now, some people would be like, no, man, go all in.
Yeah, because like all the tech people making all the money because they have the tech stuff.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. But what ends up happening is once they make money, they'll go buy homes and real estate and do all these kind of things.
They diversify.
They diversify immediately, right? So,
but then imagine now, okay, so I mean, it's one thing to have like quite a big pot and you're thinking about this like diversification strategy. Yeah. If you got that 10,000, you want to take a bit of risk and you want to make some money out of it. Yeah. How would you think about that?
So right now, I have a lot of interest and passion around transportation. And this might be the jet lag speaking, but like it took me 16 hours to fly from LA to Dubai, right? 20 years ago, it took me 16 hours to fly from LA to Dubai. When my parents were flying from Pakistan like 40 years ago, it was about the same time, right? And when I think about that, I think that's an industry that needs some kind of innovation.
Yeah.
It needs to like do something different. And I think there are very cool companies who are trying to, like, you know, about the sound barrier and all these things.
Yeah, the sound barrier.
Like
yeah. Boom.
Boom,
right?
exactly.
I got actually an early look at Boom.
Oh, awesome.
And an opportunity to invest in it.
You take it?
But I couldn't wrap my head around it.
Oh,
I was like, okay, I know what I know and I know what I don't know.
Yeah.
And like, you know, jet engines is probably not an area.
I totally get it,
But I feel bad now because actually this company has, I mean, Boom is basically now revolutionizing jet
transportation. But I think about it like in the simplest terms, this is why it resonated with me. In the simplest terms, I was like, it took me 16 hours to get to Dubai this time. 15 years ago, it took me 16 hours. That is the opposite of innovation, right? And sure, the planes are better and all this kind of stuff too, the travel's nicer, but there's something wrong there, right? And I think about when I'm trying to put dollars to work and I'm gonna take a risk on it, finding that kind of risk where it makes simple sense. And then you can find the right entrepreneur and they're solving it in a like a really cool way. That's magic. And when magic happens is where you want to put capital to work.
I'd love to wrap up with a quick fire round of questions.
Let's do it.
All right. So, the most surprising skill someone's teaching on Kajabi?
Like horse dancing.
Horse dancing?
Yes, that's all I'm going to say. Horse dancing. And they're doing quite well.
If you could pick only one social platform to build your brand, which one would you pick?
I personally would choose YouTube.
And why?
I think it's a really fantastic medium because of the visual element of it. But you can, if you think about the way people even like digest podcasts now, they watch them, right? So it's both audio and visual, and I think that's really powerful.
The last online course you personally purchased?
French. I did it 2 weeks ago. Just learning French. I took it in high school, took a bunch of it after college, and I'm like trying to get back into it.
Okay. Most underrated feature on Kajabi right now?
I think our community's product, right? I think it drove about $500 million of revenue last year, and it's getting a lot better every day, so we're excited about it.
Biggest myth about being a CEO?
That you're the boss. I think at the end of the day, it's a fantastic job, but you are responsible for a lot. You're managing a lot. You're managing your team, you're managing your customers, you're managing your investors, you're managing your board. And so it's a lot, it's actually a services job.
Productivity hack you swear by?
You know what? On productivity, I don't have a lot of hacks. I'm just always online. And so it's just one of those things where I'm a little bit connected, too connected sometimes, but it's not a real hack that I have figured out quite yet.
3 words that describe the future of the creator economy?
Ownership, independence, and love.
Great. Well, thank you, Ahad, for joining me here on Money Moves.
No, thanks so much for having me. It's awesome. Appreciate it.
What do you know about that you'd love to share with the world? What would you teach on Kajabi?